Football makes a comeback.
And women's soccer looks forward to Horizon League playoffs.
All this and more coming up right here on the Penguin Rundown. Happy Halloween, everyone, and welcome into the Penguin Rundown. I'm Bryce Noel, and alongside me here is Andrew Peterson. Andrew, how are we feeling today?
And you know I'm good. I'm wearing the kid from Akron, the Ghost jersey, LeBron James. Bryce, how are you doing?
Doing fairly well, looking like a New York State lawyer over here. And speaking of fairly well, our fall sports teams have done fairly well over this past weekend. You know, football making that miraculous comeback against Western Illinois. Our men's tennis team did fairly well in the ITA Midwest Regionals. And especially one team I like to mention here, the women's soccer team did fairly well on senior night as the women's soccer team took on IUPUI at Farmers National Bank Field in the Covelli Sports Complex, downing the Jaguars 2-0. The offense got going early on in the first half after a goal by senior Regan Lavinia. Freshman Taylor Berry added another goal off of a ricocheted shot attempt by Rondon, making it Berry's second goal of the season. Although the Jaguars outshot the Penguins 16-10, junior Brooklyn Kirkpatrick stood tall in the net, etching another shutout to her season record, putting the total to 7. For her efforts, she was named Nike Horizon League Defensive Player of the Week October 24th. With the win, the women's soccer team looks to secure a playoff spot in the Horizon League as the Penguins travel to Moon Township, Pennsylvania to take on Robert Morris today, October 26th at 2 p.m. For more information on the game, check out YSUsports.com.
This past weekend, the volleyball team had a two-match homestand against Green Bay on Friday and Milwaukee on Saturday. The visiting Green Bay Phoenix came into the Beagley Center on Friday and swept the Gwins 3-0. In their first three-set loss at home, YSU kept it close in all sets but were unable to hit the 20-point mark all evening. Sophomore Paula Gershing stepped up, leading all scorers with 18 kills and 39 attempts while having a .308 percentage. Sophomore Isabella Schaefbauer picked up 19 assists while freshman Julia Sale cashed in a team-best 3 blocks and 3 kills. Youngstown State got a strong rebound the following afternoon as they ended up upending Milwaukee in 4 sets. Gershing once again led in kills with 22, with 6 of those coming in the final set. Senior Josie Borum was a dig shy of a triple-double as she achieved 14 kills, 25 assists, and 9 digs. Freshman Abby Householder recorded a team-high 14 digs along with 9 kills, and senior Isadora Sisic had a match-high of 4 aces and 10 digs. The Penguins' record now stands at 10-13 overall with 6 games to go in the regular season. They will hit the road this weekend as they compete against Purdue Fort Wayne at 6 p.m. Friday and IUPUI at 4 p.m. Saturday. Both of those games can be live streamed on ESPN+.
Despite being behind 10 points with just over 3 minutes left in the game, the football team completed the comeback to defeat Western Illinois 28-27. The Penguins added positivity to their record to 4-3 and improved to 2-2 in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Senior Jalil McLaughlin had his second straight 30-carry, 200-yard performance with 207 yards on 31 carries with a touchdown. Junior Mitch Davidson threw for over 200 yards for a third straight game, completing 16 of his 29 passes for 221 yards and a score. YSU got on the board first, scoring on its opening drive with a 25-yard field goal from senior Colt McFadden. After a scoreless first quarter, the Leathernecks forced their way into the end zone. However, the Penguins reclaimed the lead 10-7 as McLaughlin rushed his way in for a score after a 14-yard carry. Down 27-17, the Penguins started their improbable comeback with 3:05 left in the game as they drove 75 yards in only 2 plays. Following a YSU penalty, Davidson completed a 48-yard pass to redshirt freshman Brandon Alexander and then connected with junior Bryce Oliver for 40 yards for the score. After a muff snap on the extra point attempt, senior Patty Lynch was able to roll out and complete a pass to junior Trenton Gillison for 2 points to cut the deficit to 27-25. After forcing a 3-and-out on defense, Youngstown State reclaimed possession with 50 seconds left on the clock. They were able to drive 58 yards to set up the game-winning 42-yard field goal for McFadden as time expired. McFadden was named MVFC Special Teams Player of the Week after nailing both of his field goal attempts, including the game winner. The football team will look to bring terror to Stambaugh Stadium during Halloween weekend, October 29th, to terrorize South Dakota at 2 p.m. With more on the football team, let's send it over to Kyle and Betty here at the Roundtable.
Ka-chow and welcome to Roundtable, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Koss, Lightning McQueen today, alongside Antonio Brown himself. All right, let's get the elephant out of the room already, Kyle. Let's jump into Jaleel McLaughlin, the senior running back, whose performance continues to dominate the Penguins overall as a team, continuously pulling plays that I think honestly is what is the reason why we're even in the win column in the first place.
Yeah, Betty, and if you talk about one player that has put the team on his back, it's Jaleel McLaughlin, and we saw what he was able to do last fall for this team, and then we've seen what he's done so far this season as he's rushed up for over 100 yards in every game except for one, and that being at Kentucky. But out of those 100-yard performances, 2 of those games have been for over 200 yards, and that's coming in his last 2 performances against Indiana State and Western Illinois. And out of both those performances, he was able to rush for he was able to have over 30 rushes in each of those games. So to be able to have that type of consistency out of a player like Jaleel McLaughlin, who can easily take over as the running back, which is very, very big for a football team. It's definitely big for this team and their season so far.
But those 200 yards per game, honestly, would not be at credit without the help of those lead quarterbacks that we have, which is Demetric Crenshaw, who's a sophomore, coming off his redshirt freshman season. And we've got junior Mitch Davidson, who's really been owning the ball in the air.
Yeah, Betty, and last year we saw Demetric Crenshaw take over under center for the whole season. And this year, they gave the ball right back to him as he was able to start the first 4 games of the season. But offensively, he did not have the season that I think this team was looking for, as he was only able to pass over 200 yards in one game. And in the game against North Dakota State, he really struggled as he could only pass 50% of his completions for only 34 yards. And that's when you saw Mitch Davidson take over. And since he's taken over, you've really seen this offense shine, as in the last 3 games that Mitch Davidson has been under center, we have passed for over 200 yards. And in each game that he has played, he has 1 passing touchdown. And we've talked about Jaleel McLaughlin earlier. And the last 2 games, to be able to have the 2 games that he has had, it's contributed a lot to this passing game, as it's been able to open up these running lanes, because now you have to be worried about the passing game along with the running game. And when you have 2 types of offenses that can really dominate in the game, it's going to be huge, because now you have to guard against the run, now against the pass. So to be able to have these performances from Mitch Davidson, to be able to open up this offense, it's very crucial for this team.
And another thing that's really crucial for this team, this entire year, has been, believe it or not, our kicker, Colt McFadden. Colt McFadden was honestly just named the Missouri Valley Football Conference Special Teams Player of the Week for that one specific play that came at the end of this most recent game against Illinois State. And it was for that final field goal drive that the team had, which pulled that win out from under, and we pulled it out. 28-27 was our final score. And without that kind of a lead, without that faith in a kicker, I don't know if we would have been in the win column again this week. So watching that field goal attempt kind of really go up, watching his percentage is down from last year. We're looking at 76% really this year for his kicks. 10 out of 13 of his attempts have been made, which isn't necessarily the greatest stat for a field goal kicker, but they still have a lot of faith in him and his performance.
Yeah, McFadden has been a really consistent player on special teams for this football team in the last couple seasons. And we saw last year he's able to kick over 80% his field goal percentages. And like you said, this year it's dipped down a little bit. You said it's just under 80%, but he struggled in the first couple games, only made one of his first three field goal attempts. But since then, he has been able to lock in. He's only missed 1 field goal in his last 4 games. And to be able to have that type of consistency on special teams, when you can't pound your way into the end zone, you still have the chance to kick a field goal for 3. And when you have a special teams player like Colt McFadden, whose dad is very famous in YSU history as the place kicker for Youngstown State back in his day, to be able to have that consistency from now his son, it's definitely big for this football team to be able to have that opportunity to be able to, when you can't put your way into the end zone for 6, you still have the ability to still get points with the field goal.
He has a big legacy to carry, and he's a great, item for that team to really use and to utilize and to pull wins out from under their opponents, not only 1 week in a row, but possibly going forward for the rest of this year. All right, guys, that's all we have for Roundtable. Let's throw it back to you.
Thanks, Betty and Kyle. The men's tennis team was back in action this past weekend as they competed in the ITA Midwest Regionals hosted by the University of Illinois. During the singles qualifying stage, sophomore Nathan Favier and junior David Alvarez Moreno would both pick up the wins in 3 sets. In the main draw, sophomore Clement Mengai and senior Laurentiu Montescu both lost close matches in 3 sets. In doubles play, main guy and sophomore Harry Fowles picked up an 8-5 win over Notre Dame, while Montesquieu and Favier would earn an 8-7 win against Northwestern. The two pairs would end up losing their matches in the round of 32. Up next for the Penguins, they will return to action this weekend as they will be close to home to compete in the three-day Viking Invitational hosted by Cleveland State from October 28th through the 30th. For live updates throughout the Invitational, you can check out YSUsports.com.
The women's tennis team traveled to Ann Arbor, Michigan to participate in the ITA Midwest Regionals on October 20th through the 22nd. 4 Penguins traveled to the regionals as graduate student Cecilia Rosas, junior Jessica Stanmore, and freshmen Lily Minich and Julia Marco made the trip. In singles matches, Marco and Stanmore earned wins, while Stanmore winning in straight sets. In the doubles matches, the duo of Minich and Stanmore secured the only victory for the Penguins 8-6 versus Chicago State University. The Penguins return to the courts this Friday and Saturday as they head to the indoor Toledo Rocket Invite in Toledo, Ohio on October 28th and 29th. Stay up to date on all singles and doubles at YSUsports.com.
The cross-country team sent just 2 members to the Bill Lennox Slippery Rock Invitational hosted by Slippery Rock University. Both completed in the men's 8K race. Redshirt freshman William Hinchowski led the Penguins with a time of 27 minutes and 15 seconds. The other Penguin to compete was senior Mikael Lagares, who finished with a time of 28 minutes and 17 seconds. This Saturday, the cross-country team will travel and compete in the highly anticipated Horizon League Championships at Oakland University.
Finishing their fall season, the men's golf team traveled down south competing in the Daytona Beach Intercollegiate this past Monday and Tuesday. On day 1 of competition, Youngstown State struck a team total of 604, good for 10th place out of 13 schools. Leading the squad was redshirt senior Cade Krebs, who was tied for 12th place with a score of 146. Following behind Krebs was freshman Ryan Sam, who was tied for 27th, and 5th-year Brian Corduple and redshirt junior Dean Austalash, both tied for 38th. For results on the final day of the Invitational, you can check out YSUsports.com.
Now, we're going to go ahead and send it over to Regina George for her top 5 scary movies.
Thanks, guys. I know it's Halloween week and we're all really excited. We all got our costumes on. I'm Regina George, giving Regina George's top 5 horror movies. Let's see what number 5 is. Number 5, A Quiet Place. How ironic, because I am definitely not quiet. Just saw the second one a couple weeks ago. You know, it's really ironic that it's A Quiet Place because I really like movies with dialogue. I really wish they had a lot more talking in it, but that's why it's at number 5. Let's see what number 4 is. Annabelle Creation. This is one of the scariest movies I have ever seen. If anyone has ever seen the Conjuring series, this has definitely been one of the scariest and the best one. That is why I have it at number 4. Let's see what number 3 is. Monster House. If anyone grew up watching Cartoon Network, they know what this movie is. This movie is spectacular. I still watch it like I'm a 5-year-old girl. It is awesome and it still scares me to this day. So that's why they're in the middle of my list. Let's see what number 2 is. The Nightmare Before Christmas, everyone's favorite Tim Burton Halloween or Christmas movie. Just for this purpose, we're gonna say it's a Halloween movie. It's amazing. I'm obsessed with that movie. That's why it's at number 2. And let's have a look at what number 1 is. Number 1, the It franchise. Now, unfortunately, I've not seen the original, but I have read the books. So that's why I chose it as number 1. I read the book. I know too much about it. It's really scary. It has clowns in it. I just love it overall. So that was Regina George's top 5 horror movies. We're going to send it back to you guys.
Thank you, Regina, and that's all the time we have here at the Penguin Rundown. Follow us on our social medias here at Twitter and Instagram at Penguin Rundown 1. And for live news, stats, scores, and more, you can check out YSUsports.com. I'm Bryce Noel.
And I'm the GOAT, Andrew Peterson.
And as always, see you next week, Penguin Nation.